Hi, everyone. My name is Hugh H.D. Hunter, author of the Futureland series, and today I'll be reading the opening part and beginning chapter of my middle grade debut, Futureland Battle for the Park. Interview Output Report 0001. Date August 29th, 2048. Location undetermined. Interviewer unlogged. Subject undefined. Interviewer: Are you awake? Subject: I do not require sleep. I am currently functioning at full capacity. Interviewer: Right. Let's get to it then. What do you know about Futureland? Subject: Futureland is the world's most popular and innovative theme park. The entire park flies from city to city, making it accessible to guests around the globe. Most recent stops include Tokyo, London, and Chicago. The creators of Futureland, Stacy and J.B. Walker, collaborated to design and manage the park, the first ever experience of its kind. The park currently consists of 10 worlds. Interviewer: Stop. What do you really know about Futureland? Subject: I'm sorry, I don't understand. Interviewer: What is the secret to the Walker technology? How did they create everything? Subject: I'm sorry, I don't understand. Interviewer: Microphone registered silence. Subject: I'm sensing tension. Is there anything I can do to make your experience better? Interviewer: We're running out of time. Subject: Thank you for coming. We hope to see you again. Interviewer: Wait, a few final questions. Do you know where you are? Subject: Internal global positioning mechanism status deactivated. Interviewer: Good. And do you have a name? Subject: Yes, we are all given names. Interviewer: Disgusting. Well, what is it? Subject: My name is transmission corrupted. Chapter 1: The Bugged Out Rev. Sunday, August 30th, 2048, 7:23 a.m. Look, you probably think I was the luckiest kid in the world because I live on top of it. No, seriously. Literally. Well, more like above it, if I'm being precise. Vocabulary word. My teacher, Madame Bonnier, would be proud. I'm growing up in the coolest, most famous theme park ever. Like, for real, for real. Yeah, that one. Only one above the rest. Futureland. Seen the holograms of my mom and dad on your news tablets? Maybe they even mentioned me, their only child. Bet you wondered what life was like growing up in a roaming theme park. You probably called us the luckiest family in the world. Maybe. Most kids would think having a permanent ticket to Futureland would be the best thing ever. A regular kid might be so gassed up, they'll turn into an insomniac. You know, the people who stay up all night guzzling down coffee, which dad says stunts your growth, and wandering the park destinies until the sun comes up. Or they get heads so big, they couldn't even strap into the jet blur and fly around to each exhibit. To me, Futureland was just home. And on most days, I loved it. But this was not one of those days. Good morning, Cameron Walker, duly chirped, bursting into my room and leaning over my bed. Her unblinking eyes scanned me, the irises turning from hazel to neon orange. I covered my head with a pillow. I'm still sleeping. You are verbalizing, so you must not be still sleeping, and your mother asked me to wake you. I let out a big snore and covered my face with my top blanket. It was Scooby Doo themed, my favorite show, on my favorite blanket, of course. Ugh, it's too early. Dooley yanked the covers back. Actually, it's 7:25 a.m. You're 5 minutes and 3.25 seconds late to meet your mother, though I see that you're in need of at least another hour of sleep based on your oxygen levels and brain waves. Yeah, yeah. Good morning to you too. I opened one eye, spotting her two perfectly round afro puffs. I scowled. She smiled wide. Our grins were identical. Our skin was the same shade of bronze brown, and our faces had the same tiny star-shaped birthmark below our left eyes. Mom designed her like that, so most people would think that we were family, so I wouldn't be lonely. Sometimes I forget Dooley was even a Rev. She fooled just about everyone. People called Mom's androids the best ever made. You are now 7 minutes late to meet your mother. Fine, fine. I rolled out of bed, brushed my teeth, and pulled on an old Futureland t-shirt. I flipped through a few pages of a Watson and Holmes graphic novel while I brushed, probably reading more than I was brushing, honestly. I liked the new version, set in Harlem, New York. Dooley, where's Mom? I called out. Elevator. Dooley practically yanked me through the condo. Only tiny, colorful lights marked the path, the windows blacked out by the auto shades. Here, take these, Dooley said as we rushed, handing me a pair of Future Vision goggles, the special high-tech eyewear that helped us navigate Futureland and see all its wonders. Are these new? I asked. Somewhat. Dooley grinned mischievously, whispering as we got closer to my mom. I've been tinkering with them. Hey, Cam Cam, missed you. Mom squeezed me tight and kissed my forehead. I secretly wiped it off. Took you long enough. What are we even doing? I was still sleeping. You know the deal. The walkers walk the walk, and that means we're up and at 'em, she said, placing her palm flat on the wall beside the elevator doors. They slid open silently, and a soft green light welcomed us in. Plus, I need your kid brain. There was no way out of this. When Dr. Stacy Walker made up her mind about something, nothing could change it. So, where are we going? Uncle Trey called, said there was a problem with one of the gorilla revs. Malfunction. Something he couldn't fix. He's across the park, dealing with a digi water leak in the future ring. We're too close to opening day for anything to go haywire. Told him my right-hand man and I will handle it. That's Dad. He's the left hand, she said with a smile. Wait, there's something Uncle Trey couldn't fix? I asked, shocked. My uncle is like king of the handyman. He could probably even reignite the sun if its light ever went out. Mom raised her eyebrows and nodded. I know, I know. I said the same thing. She touched my hair, then the beehive of locks she'd been growing ever since I was born. Trying to be like me, kid? Growing out nicely. I'll catch up. I peeped the new crop of twists sprouting from the top of my head in the elevator reflection and smiled. Destination, the elevator asked. Walker Family Jet Blur Hub, Mom replied before turning to me. You ready? Always. Even though I complained sometimes, I still loved exploring the park with her and helping with the revs and new tech. I was always the first to try out all new exhibits or role play a guest in Dad's latest storylines. They needed kid approval. They needed my expertise. Good. It's important you know the ins and outs, Mom said, like she always did. I noticed her smile from a side glance. She was so proud. I felt a little guilty that I'd have rather been snoozing in bed or reading one of my crime books. The elevator shot straight up. Silvery walls turned to glass as it made its way to our private park entrance, a massive train terminal with floor-to-ceiling windows. We stepped out. Wallogram billboards twinkled and flickered, filling with photos from different Futureland eras. "Good morning, walkers," said one of the guard revs, standing at the entrance. His uniform shone bright, and the Futureland pin on his jacket glowed. Mom nodded at him. "Please step on a jetpad and prepare for travel," he said. We each jumped on an outline box on the floor, the foot sensors that caused the jet blur to take us to park destinations. This might be my favorite thing my parents ever made. I pressed my face against the glass, watching as the park's transportation system burst into view. A high-speed travel pod with room for 3. When the park was open, there'd be hundreds of these in the air like cool black marbles threaded with gold, each a self-navigating vehicle high above the park destinies. We stepped out of the waiting area and up to the 3-seater pod. Its surface dissolved, leaving glowing seats for us. I leapt into one. Preparing for transport in 3, 2, 1. The black sphere closed around us. "You think I should update these?" she asked as we piled in. "Maybe make them more spacious. Change the color?" "Never. I love them." She winked at me. The dashboard illuminated. "Where would you like to go, Dr. Walker?" the jet blur voice asked. "Future Trek Destiny, main entrance," she commanded. "Your future, your dreams, your reality await you," it said before lifting into the air. My ears popped and my stomach lifted as we shot into the sky. The pod lightened, its pitch black tint revealing the best view. As we rose into the sky, my stomach dropped like being on a roller coaster. But after a second, I felt weightless. I started to count the 10 destinies of Futureland. They always reminded me of neighborhoods cobbled together and floating above the world. The Futureland sign glowed ahead, cresting over the mines of tomorrow and future falls. Dad said they made it look like the Hollywood sign. The clouds were outside the walls of Futureland, but if we were out there, I bet I could have grabbed one. "Future Vision recommended," the jet blur reminded us. A compartment above us slid open, revealing 3 pairs of Future Vision goggles. I slid on the pair that Dooley had given me instead, their glow turning my fingers a bright blue. I gazed down. Usually the goggles were helpful to see inside the dark caves of the mines of tomorrow. But way up here above the park, they made the best binoculars. We soared over it all. The black beat city of music and neon lights, the wonder worlds of thousands of doors leading to new places, the galactic gallery and its universe of stars and planets and asteroids hurtling through space, the Millennium Marketplace floating around with all its treasures, the word locust with its towers of living books. Sometimes I spent all day in a jet blur pod, flying high and staring down at every single detail, like I was one of Futureland's Eagle Revs or something, gazing down on my habitat. Oh, and pro tip, there's nothing like seeing the Chicago skyline from a jet blur pod high above the city at sunset. You know, just in case you're ever visiting. Meanwhile, Mom was blabbing into her wireless earpiece. "No, no, Trey, I hear you. Yep, we're almost. Wait, hold on, another call. Give me a sec. Cam, baby." I looked at her. She crouched over in her seat, tapping furiously on her tablet. She mouthed, "Eat your breakfast." "Uh-huh, yep," she said, all business again. "Got it. Okay, actually, could you go back for a second? I missed that last part, I'm sorry." "Cameron, psst, Cameron." I whipped around at the sound of Dooley's voice. She tapped my shoulder with a granola bar. "Ugh, you don't have anything else?" I asked, grabbing it from her. "No, unfortunately, I do not," she said, but her mouth didn't move. My jaw dropped. Dooley, how, what did you? She raised her finger to her lips. It's your goggles. I figured out how to transmit sounds from my internal speaker through them so you can hear, similar to headphones, only you don't have to block your ears. Wow, I said aloud. I remembered Mom working on something like that last year. She called it bone conducting, a way to send sounds into someone's inner ear without playing it aloud or covering their eardrums. She said it might help part guests who were hard of hearing. I'll tell you more about it later, Dooley winked. For now, enjoy your granola. This bar has a half-day supply of all vital nutrients for an 11-year-old boy. Sounds like cardboard, I grumbled. I'm sorry, I didn't hear that. Could you please repeat? Dooley asked out loud. I shrugged. Thanks, I guess. You're very welcome, Cameron, she responded. Muy delicioso, yes? I rolled my eyes as Dooley impersonated our chef Rev, Alejandro. He thought all his meals tasted like liquid gold. Well, maybe gold tastes bad, but you get the point. You're not laughing, she said. It was a bad joke, and I wasn't in the mood to laugh. And this definitely was not a gourmet meal. Ugh. What's that, Cam Cam? Mom asked, a muffled Uncle Trey voice still escaping her earpiece. I waved off her nosy glare, turning back to the window. I knew Mom was trying. Dad, too. But it was Sunday. The one day of every week where I got a breakfast feast. A stack of Dad's famous French toast. He always puts chocolate chips on top. He can't resist chocolate. Eggs, sauteed vegetables, fresh fruit, yogurt, home fries, veggie sausage for Mom, turkey bacon for Dad, all of it for me. But that didn't seem like it was happening today. They were going directly against Walker way of living, #1. Always make time for each other. Futureland was an all-day, everyday thing. They'd been doing it since before I was born, and when my parents got in this mode, there was no stopping them. Mom patted my leg like she could hear my thoughts. Maybe she could. Moms just know things sometimes. She flashed me her bright white smile. Arrival day, Cam Cam. You know the drill. Mm-hmm, I mumbled. Arrival days were all about getting prepared for guests, making sure the park was perfect. Boring. I preferred travel days. The park sailing over oceans and seas headed for new destinations. We'd have movie nights in Future Theater, or picnics in one of the Wonder Worlds, and even family laser tag or basketball in the Sports Summit if Uncle Trey wasn't busy fixing things in the park. My skin got all prickly and weird, and I squeezed my eyes shut. Everything felt like it was changing, and not necessarily for the better. We were scheduled to stay in Atlanta for a whole school year instead of 3 months, like when we normally visited a city. Second, this time tomorrow, I'd be on the ground, away from the park and in a school for the first time ever. The thought of it made my stomach somersault. The new kid, shipped off to East Side Middle School, where my mom went when she was my age. I had never gone to a real school before. Classmates, teachers, food fights? I had no idea what to expect. Approaching the future Trek Destiny in 47 seconds, the jet blur announced. We soared over all the animal habitats, a desert filled with rev camels roving, a grassland filled with prides of rev lions, and the tumultuous racing river, before we passed over a large arch with Future Trek spelled out in gigantic flowers you'd never see outside the park. Uncle Trey had grown the new plants from his own special seed blending process. I've got more than a green thumb, he'd always brag. The jet blur descended, swerving around exotic plants and jungle vines as it wound deep into the rainforest, up the mountains and around trees. We sailed over a giant hill, landing on a small patch of grass. Arriving, the jet blur said. Watch your step when exiting the pod. The sphere retracted until we were sitting in open air. The sounds of jungle animals welcomed us, and I immediately started to feel the sticky humidity on my skin. Your future, your dreams, your reality are at your fingertips. Enjoy. The pod darted away. Dooley and I followed Mom to the Destiny entrance. The arch stretched high above us, complete with floating hologram, flashing images, animals, revs welcoming visitors, the natural wonders of the Future Trek jungle, the rolling waves of the future seas. Once the montage finished, an automated audio recording played. Welcome to Future Trek, where all of your wildest adventures are reality, a paradise of imagination. During your visit, you can. Mom tromped straight through the hologram, disrupting the image. She waved for me and Dooley to follow her. Greetings, trekkers. A rev leaped out to greet us. I jumped, but then smiled. I recognized him. From his messy red hair and thick glasses, and especially his white lab coat. His name was Woody, and my parents had designed him to be their full-time lab assistant years ago. He'd flash a creepy grin whenever he finished talking, and I always wondered why my parents didn't fix it. What's he doing here? I asked Mom. She scrunched up her forehead. I'm not sure. Woody, why are you here? Woody processed the question. A ring of orange light circled his irises. When he was ready to respond, he tilted his head back down. He tilted his head back down and smiled. Mr. Walker sent me up here to meet you all once Trey alerted us about the commotion. I am here to be of assistance. He flashed that awkward little grin. I see, my mom said, her eyes narrowing. Well, we've got enough hands on deck. She pointed her hands at me and Dooley, her thumbs at me and Dooley. We won't need any extra assistance, but please tell us where to go. Then you can head back to the lab. Of course, Dr. Walker. Woody walked with us into the Destiny, pointing toward a clearing before sending us on our way. We crossed a rope bridge above one of the waterfalls. Purple, red, and yellow flowers hung over us as we made our way to the other side. I'm glad it wasn't as hot here as it was in the real rainforest. One time when the park was over Brazil, we felt the heat of the Amazon. Even my sweat stains had sweat stains. Almost cooked us. After that, Uncle Trey created our very own Futureland weather system, so guests would never be uncomfortable again. This is your favorite park, Destiny, Mom, isn't it? I didn't come to Future Trek that much, but I still liked it a lot. Told you I don't play favorites. Mom kept her eyes on her tablets and readjusted her earpiece. Uh-huh. Yeah, Trey, we're here now. I'm just locating that particular... Huh? You're breaking up. Hold on. She swiped on the tablet, checking the call status. Strange. I lost the signal. That shouldn't ever happen if we're all in the park at the same time. Need to make a note of that. She clicked a button on her earpiece again and opened a map on the tablet. Oh, shoot. I've got to call him back. Y'all follow me. We're almost there. Me and Dooley kept up. A few bee guides, tiny robotic bumblebees, circled around us as we made our way deeper into the exhibit. Careful, 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 careful. The bee guides buzzed in my ear. You are now entering the outskirts of this park destiny. Careful, careful, careful. I swatted them away. My mom created them to help remind guests about the rules. Genius. The jungle canopy opened into a clearing. Here we are, Mom called out. Should be the precise coordinates. A troop of gorilla revs sat around, mothers holding babies, some playing with one another and tumbling in the grass. A griot rev and a maintenance rev sat nearby, and they stood when they spotted us. The griot rev approached, his speech already starting, his voice eager to tell the story of this park destiny. Good morning, Dr. Walker and Cameron Walker. He removed his safari helmet, mopping the fake sweat on his dark brown forehead. Good morning, Henry, Mom replied. Situation analysis, please. Henry turned to the smaller maintenance rev, who had a tool bag slung over his shoulder. His Futureland jumpsuit was torn at the knee, the uniform pants almost shredded. Ryan, Henry started, transferring voice command. Situation analysis, please. The mechanic spoke. At approximately 7:30 a.m. today, an abnormal motion pattern triggered an emergency alert notification that was sent to Trey Abrams. His service log reads, found Gorilla Rev B-002-06 separated from the troop, galloping and stomping, as if angry. I scanned its code for any clues of what could have upset it. Nothing. I attempted to temporarily deactivate B-002-06. Nothing. Probably requires a manual reset. Maintenance options attempted? I asked, a tingle shooting up my spine. There was a mystery to solve, like the ones in my favorite books. Mom smiled at me. I attempted to approach B-002-06 myself to perform a manual reset, but I was damaged in the process, Ryan continued, showcasing his broken leg. When an alert of my injury was sent to Trey Abrams, he had me wait aside. My stomach flip-flopped once he lifted his pant leg to show us. The shin bent backward. His bio blood soaked everything. Orange goo was dripping everywhere. Nothing like this had ever happened in the park. Mom crossed her arms. Okay, thank you, Ryan. Where is B-002-06 now? 32 meters northwest, Dr. Abrams, Ryan responded. Beyond the troop, on the far side of the clearing. You know, these gorilla revs are some of the oldest in the park, Henry spoke up. Did you know that an average mountain gorilla? Yes, Henry, thank you. That will be all. Henry stopped speaking and smiled. Of course, Dr. Walker. Thank you for coming. We hope to see you again. I dropped down to get a closer look at Ryan's leg. Gross. I didn't know a gorilla rev could damage another rev like this. Mom, what if it does this to a person? Mom shot me a grave look. She knew how bad this could potentially be. They shouldn't be able to. Biomechanical Fabra revelations aren't capable of violence. It's not in their code. Her nose scrunched. I need to inspect it, and I need you to take notes and pay attention, as I say the behavioral commands. You can't miss a beat, okay? She handed me her tablet and pen, her log open and ready for notes. Yep, got it, I replied. Dr. Walker, did anyone check Gorilla Rev's fear response? Dooley interjected. That's a good question, Mom added. I'll check it when we get there. I loved when Dooley whipped out all the things she knew. She hadn't always been my best friend, you know. This was kind of her fourth life. When the park first opened, she was a maintenance rev, helping to repair and restore other revs. After that, she worked in several different park areas before Mom coded her a custom software to be my full-time best friend. Mom nodded at Dooley and me and faced the clearing. Activate temporary safe mode, she called out. All the gorillas relaxed, their shoulders hunching, their faces going slack. I followed her as she hustled past the troop to a far corner of the forest where an adolescent gorilla rev galloped back and forth furiously. It ripped up a shrub and threw it across the clearing. B-002-06 bared its teeth and pummeled the ground, snarling and growling as we approached. Activate temporary safe mode, Mom called out again. Stop moving, I whispered. Mom's command should have temporarily deactivated the gorilla so she could check its software for bugs. Not how gorillas check other gorillas for bugs, you know, like computer bugs. But the gorilla rev thrashed, stomping like it wanted to crush something under its big feet. It ran around in a circle, dragging its finger through the dirt. Then it jumped in the middle of the circle and drew a rectangular box inside. It grunted, snorted, and took short breaths. Then it made a sound I'd never heard any revs make. A shriek, a high-pitched yell of pain and anger that made the hair on the back of my neck stand up. It's just like Uncle Trey said, not responding to voice commands, I whispered to Dooley. This is so odd, Mom said, reading her tablet. I took Dooley's advice and checked its fear response and other personality characteristics. Everything looks perfect on paper. Health, strength, fear, they're all running at the proper levels. It's so strange that its internal information isn't showing anything that could produce this kind of behavior. Does it have the latest animal rev update? I asked. Mom nodded. Last month, right after we left Chicago, we updated them all. The gorilla's orange eyes spun wildly, and it kept backing up like it wanted to retreat. It looked scared, like something frightened it, I said. Revs cannot feel fear, Dooley said, only emulate fear responses based on our code and interactions with environmental stimuli. And even then, any alteration from its natural state would be reflected in its report. I know, Dee, but look, something is wrong, really wrong. I took a step closer to the rev, but felt Mom's hand on my shoulder. She pointed ahead. The gorilla collapsed the way Dad always did after staying up all night testing new storylines. I could feel its energy, a weird mix of anxiety, frustration, and fear. The only problem was, revs weren't supposed to feel. Strange, Mom mumbled. The gorilla rev began to whimper, covering its face with its hands, its massive body constricting into a tight ball. Mom slowly approached, motioning for me and Dooley to stay back as she reached out to touch it. She tried to pull the gorilla's hand away from its face, but it wouldn't budge. I wrote down everything. It trembled and whimpered until Mom gently reached for a spot on its neck, tucked behind its ear, a manual shutdown button. I heard the click, then B-002-06 froze and went silent, its body limp against the rainforest floor. Me and Dooley darted up to Mom, and all three of us knelt in the clearing. Deactivate temporary safe mode, Mom called out into the distance. Seconds after, the troop of gorillas stirred once more. The rainforest came alive with the sounds of their bustling movements. While Mom worked with her tools, I stared into the orange eyes of B-002-06, cold and motionless. I looked deeply, and even though there was no life in the eyes to look back at me, I could still see its terror. What was wrong with it? All right. Thank y'all for reading with me. This has been Futureland, Battle for the Park, the opening sections and the first chapter, The Bugged Out Rev. Hope you enjoy it. Take care.